Hey, good morning, Math 7 students. So today we are starting our second unit. Um, this one is, I think, like multiplying and dividing negatives, which actually, in my opinion, is actually easier than the first one, adding and subtracting with negatives. So I'm going to go over a little something. So I know the first con that you have to do is signs of expression, but I want to just go through something. I want to go through the multiplication rules. Okay, so the rules of multiplication, and I'm covering those right up here. I think this makes sense that if you had one negative would equal a negative. Okay, I think everyone kind of gets that. If you had, oh, and I see I'm going to have to slide this over this way to do this. If I had a negative times a negative, it would equal a positive. Okay, because the first negative tells you to do the opposite of the second negative. And the opposite of a negative is a positive. Okay, well, let's do another one. What's a negative times a negative times a negative? Three negatives. Well, let's see. This one tells you to do the opposite of this one. So now we're at a positive, but now we're taking a positive times a negative, and that equals a negative. Okay, so let's do the fourth one. A negative times a negative times, where's my time symbol? Negative times a negative. Four negatives. First one tells you to do the opposite of the second one, so that would become a positive. A positive times a negative is a negative. A negative times another negative becomes a positive again. You might start to see a pattern. Negative, positive, negative, positive. Let's see what happens next. Negative times negative times negative times negative times negative. Five negatives. These two become positive, then negative, then positive, then negative. So our answer is negative. Hey, I wonder what will happen if I have six of these. I bet you can all guess it. But just in case you can't, I'm going to do it anyways. This is a negative, then a positive, then a negative, then a positive, then a negative, then a positive. Altogether, we are at a positive. So notice if I have one negative, or three negatives, or five negatives, all the answers are negative. If I have two negatives, or four negatives, or six negatives, or in that case, zero negatives, then your answer is a positive. So if you have an odd number of negative numbers, your answer is negative. If you have an even number of negatives, your answer is positive. Okay, enough of that. Let's just kind of delete this whole thing. Let's get rid of this and let's get going. I don't know how to get rid of it. That didn't work. All right, click on it. Goodbye. There we go. Okay, now I got it. Now, on here, notice that that number is above zero, so that's a positive. That number here is below zero, so it's a negative. One positive and one negative, that means there's only one negative. That means it's a negative answer. So I'm going to find a fun color that I want to use today. Oh, we're going with light blue, sky blue. One negative would equal a negative. Okay, easy peasy. Let's get rid of that problem. Let's bring on this problem. All right. Hey, three numbers here. P is greater than zero. Numbers that are greater than zero are positive. So this number is positive, and this number down here is positive. Q equals zero. Well, here's the deal, guys. It's pretty simple. If you ever have a zero, anything times zero is zero, and zero divided by anything. So, for example, today at school, I brought zero cookies with me to share amongst all my students. And all of them had the exact same amount. And if I brought zero to share, that means they all had zero cookies to eat. By the way, I'll bring you zero cookies anytime you want. So, zero times anything, zero divided by anything is just zero. So if you have zero, it controls it. Your answer will be zero. There you go. Moving on to our next one now, multiplying negative numbers. I'm just going to make this simple for you guys. Too many of you get confused by the positives and negatives. So, whoopsie, didn't mean to do that. Let's do this. I got an idea. Let's lock those in place. Now, how many negatives do you see on this side of the equation? I'll give you a moment to count. One, two. That's right, two. Two is an even number. There's two negatives. That means the answer will be positive. Then, What is just 7 times 9? 7 times 9 is 63. Because there was 2 negatives, it's a positive 63. I'll make it a little bold in case you couldn't see it. There we go, 63. Woo, woo, woo. All right, now moving on. Clone that. The answer is not 63. We got to figure out what it's going to be. All right, how many negatives do you see here? Well, Mr. Henderson, I see 1 negative. That is correct. If you have 1 negative, that's an odd. That means your answer will be negative. So we're going to take our big old number, we're going to put a negative in front of it, and then we're going to ask ourselves, I wonder what 4 times 6 is. 4 times 6 is 24, Mr. Anderson. So we're going to cancel that off and put 24, and our answer is negative 24. You'll notice I handle the negatives separate from the numbers when I multiply them. It makes it way easier. Guys, that's all I got for you today. Have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.